You almost want to see that because right now that is a danger. The way that bumper is flying behind him there. They tried to get him off there. They gave the go-ahead for the pit maneuver. It was the perfect speed as he was getting off the freeway, and now you see him running these red lights at a very, very high rate of speed.
You hate to see a suspect go this quickly on these surface streets. At least on the freeways he had wide open spaces, but here it gets a little more dangerous with us going through these lights and perhaps pedestrians on the street at this hour, who knows. But yeah, he was at 120 miles per hour and hasn't pretty slowed down at all.
I was really hoping he would stay on the freeway. That's what you like to see. If somebody's going to play this dangerous game with police, you want to see it on the freeway, especially this time of the night. The good news is here, Roxford Street actually runs into the 210 freeway. In fact, it dead ends at the 210 freeway. So if he continues in another half a mile or so, he's going to be forced to either get off of Roxford Street or it'll basically run into the ramp, the on-ramp to either the 210 North or the 210 South. So we'll see what happens here. He's going to pass Foothill Boulevard here in just a second. He's got the red light, another red light. He is going through these red lights at a really, really crazy speed here. And that, again, that bumper still flying in the wind behind him.
Unbelievable. Wow. This speed is incredibly unsafe. The fact that he's blowing through red lights is incredibly unsafe. We're lucky that it's late at night and there's not a lot of traffic out there, but still, the danger level very high. Now he's in the center, hasn't crossed over into oncoming traffic as yet that we have seen, but man, I'm wondering if this is some kind of souped up Honda Civic, one of these racing cars that people like to modify, because he's got that spoiler on the back of it. Well, I mean, I can't remember seeing a Honda Civic going this fast that I can remember.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all, especially at the speeds he's been going. Like I said, for a bulk of this pursuit, he has not gone below 100 miles per hour until he got off of surface streets. Look at that dog. That dog ran right in front of him. He barely slowed down. He's been maintaining remarkable control of the vehicle, even despite that pit maneuver. It was really a solid pit maneuver attempt, but a failed attempt nonetheless. Continuing the pursuit into a residential neighborhood now at the end of Olive View Drive, coming up on Cranston Avenue, slowing down for these narrower streets here, and at some point here he may come up on a dead end because there are a bunch of those in this neighborhood. Plenty of cul-de-sacs for him to get caught up in. If he makes the left there's one, and then up ahead there's another one. So he is really gonna weave his way through this neighborhood here, but one wrong turn and he could end up in a dead end as he zigzags his way through Sylmar. CHP really doing an excellent job of staying right up behind him, keeping the pressure on despite the high speeds.
Yeah, we certainly hope that he stays at least a decent speed through these residential neighborhoods. He's right now on Polk Street, so he's kind of out of that residential area, or at least the little tiny streets.
Yeah, he's on Polk Street, now on the wrong side of the street, now another left. These appear to be fairly random turns. I certainly could be mistaken about that. If he happens to be familiar with this area, it's certainly a possibility. But just from my vantage point, these doesn't really appear to have a certain destination in mind. These appear to be random turns, weak attempts to lose the CHP at best. But we'll see where he ends up here, or possibly maybe just looking for a hiding spot to dump the vehicle and bail out on foot. But we'll see what happens here. Still going very fast for a residential neighborhood. You can see that that bump in the road there causing some sparks as that bumper scraped the pavement, and he is really flying. We'll go ahead and throw up our real-time speed tracker down Gladstone Avenue at 50 to 60 miles per hour, a street that can't be more than a 30 to 35 mile per hour speed limit. These wild turns through these red lights are continuing. Very erratic behavior, doing almost a complete loop through the Sylmar area. We are very close to Whiteman Airport near Pacoima, and he is now on Hubbard Street crossing Fenton Avenue.
A word of warning to people who live in the area. You know, people who are being pursued sometimes will foot bail, sometimes will end up trying to get into your home. So if you're watching this newscast and if you live in the area as he blows through that stoplight there at Hubbard and Eldridge, keep your windows closed, keep your doors locked. and just hunker down, because we don't know who is behind the wheel of this vehicle. We know he's pretty desperate, pretty erratic in his behavior, and is willing to risk it all, it appears. So we don't want him risking anything with you. Now, as we say that, passing through this residential area does seem to be slowing down, but the movements are strange. Where is he now? What is it? Is this a parking lot?
Into a parking lot here. I'm not sure if this is a school. It might be a school. Unclear. We'll try and get a sign here in a second. But now doing a loop around this parking lot, he may have boxed himself in, pulling into a spot, and he may be willing to give it up right here, deciding that it was, deciding he's either had enough or maybe that gas tank was running low. Here comes the arms and hands out of the driver's side window, the driver's side door coming open, and the driver getting out of the vehicle. Does not appear to be anybody else in the passenger seat. They'll still have to go through and clear the vehicle, but it looks like he is willing to comply here. Yeah. He's now obeying the commands, turning around, and now they're asking him to turn back around, keep his hands up in the air, step slowly towards the police officers who have their guns out, guns drawn, making sure this guy doesn't pull a fast one, but it does look like he is giving up peacefully. This one is ending about as safely as one could have possibly imagined, considering the very dangerous high speeds we've been watching over the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, note, as our director, Mike Gilbert, pointed out, the smoking brakes on that CHP unit that did everything it could to keep up with him. Either smoking brakes or maybe an overheated engine there. So it was really tough keeping up with this guy.
Those are the brakes.
Those are the brakes. And he did it. The driver stayed with him in spite of the fact that this was a very nimble, very quick, fast vehicle that they were pursuing, going through those tight turns and blowing through stop signs and staying on surface streets. They were right behind him. They didn't have the benefit of a helicopter overhead with the night sun. So I'm sure that they knew that if they lost him, they were going to lose him for good.
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe
turns out just to be a high-speed joyride.
Right.
Thankfully, it ended like this. We always like to see that without people getting hurt.
All right. Is this a park or a school? Just so we have a notification of where this actually ended. Do we know yet?
I don't have a landmark just yet. We'll go ahead and widen out and see there is a pool there. It's either a community center. It looks like a community center, and it looks like the LA County Sheriff's Department now has an airship overhead here. If it was to continue, they did have an airship available here. CHP also is on the way up here, but it does look like a recreational facility with tennis courts and swimming pools, and it does look like this has come to a safe end.
All right, Chris Christie, thank you for your live coverage from Air 7 HD. The news at 11 continues.